You ever feel like you're constantly fighting your own brain? Like you're playing life on hard mode while everyone else got the instruction manual? You drift off during important conversations, then snap back to reality with that sinking feeling you missed something critical. Your keys, your wallet, your phone, they're never where you left them, and the frantic morning search has basically become a daily ritual. You got a dozen projects started and 100 brilliant ideas buzzing around in your head. But actually finishing one feels like trying to climb a mountain, and you're starting to wonder, is this more than just being a bit quirky or forgetful? You're scrolling through social media and suddenly it's everywhere. Short, snappy videos that describe your exact life. The constant fidgeting. The inability to start a boring task to save your life. That intense, all-consuming focus on a new hobby that completely vanishes a week later. It feels like a breakthrough. An aha moment that finally puts a name to this lifelong struggle you could never quite explain. The algorithm thinks it might be ADHD, but here's the thing. That path from a TikTok suspicion to a real, life-changing diagnosis can be a total minefield. It's littered with bad information, oversimplifications, and the very real danger of self-doubt and getting it wrong. This video is your guide through that minefield. We're not going to give you a quiz or a label. We're going to give you something way more useful, a clear, responsible way to understand what's really going on, so you can find the right answers for you. First off, let's just say how incredibly validating it can be to see your own struggles reflected back at you. For years, maybe your whole life, you might have felt broken, lazy, or just not good enough. You've heard it all. Just try harder. You need to be more organized, or stop being so sensitive. Then you find this online community of people who just get it. They share stories that feel like they were pulled straight from your diary. From the sting of rejection-sensitive dysphoria to the simple frustration of forgetting what you walked into a room for. That feeling of belonging is powerful, and honestly, it's a huge reason why awareness of adult ADHD has exploded. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram have become the town square for this conversation. Creators, many sharing their own stories, post relatable skits and lists of secret symptoms. And suddenly, things just click. That's why you can't listen to a podcast without doing something else. That's why you get overwhelmed in grocery stores. That's why you get a massive burst of motivation at 2 a.m. For so many people, this is the first time they've ever felt truly understood. But this digital awakening has a flip side. While it's opened the door for countless people to get help, it has also created an echo chamber where information gets oversimplified. A lot of these short videos talk about really broad human experiences. Being forgetful, easily distracted, a master procrastinator, that's all of us at some point. The risk is that these videos often strip away all the clinical nuance and the strict criteria that a real diagnosis requires. They can make it way too easy to see a normal behavior, like misplacing your keys when you're exhausted, as a sign of a chronic, debilitating condition. And that's the rabbit hole. You watch one relatable video, and the algorithm shows you 100 more. Pretty soon, you're convinced. You have ADHD. You might even start identifying with the label, changing how you see yourself and explain your actions to others. And while that can feel empowering, it skips over the most important part of the process, figuring out if these symptoms are really ADHD, or if they're a sign of something else entirely. Making that distinction is one of the most important things you can do for your mental and physical health. Jumping from a social media aha moment to self-diagnosing is tempting, but it comes with serious risks we need to talk about. Getting this wrong can cause more harm than the problems you were trying to solve in the first place. First, there's the medication trap. ADHD is often treated with stimulant medications. For someone with a properly diagnosed condition, these drugs can be an absolute game changer. They help balance brain chemistry to improve focus and impulse control. But for a brain that doesn't need them, taking powerful stimulants can be risky. It can lead to side effects like anxiety, insomnia, heart palpitations, and carries a real risk of dependency. Stimulants are a serious medical tool, not a life hack for better focus. They should only ever be used with a confident, accurate diagnosis from a qualified professional. Second, you might be masking the real problem. Symptoms that look and feel just like ADHD can actually be signs of many other things. Are you chronically stressed or totally burned out? That will destroy your ability to focus. Are you sleep deprived? Even a little bit of bad sleep over time can perfectly mimic ADHD symptoms like inattention and irritability. Conditions like anxiety, depression, trauma, and even physical issues like a thyroid problem or vitamin deficiencies can show up in ways that are almost impossible to tell apart from ADHD on the surface. If you mislabel these as ADHD, you could spend years trying the wrong solutions, while the actual root cause goes untreated. For example, if you actually have an anxiety disorder, taking a stimulant could make your anxiety 10 times worse. Getting the diagnosis right isn't just about getting the right treatment. It's about avoiding the wrong one. Finally, there's the identity trap. A diagnosis becomes part of your story, a lens you use to see yourself. If that diagnosis is wrong, it can warp your self-perception. You might start excusing behaviors you could actually work on, blaming them on a condition you don't have. The whole point of a diagnosis is to get clarity, not a convenient label. It should empower you with the truth. An incorrect diagnosis can trap you in a story that isn't really yours, keeping you from understanding yourself and making the changes that would genuinely make your life better. That's why we have to pause, take a breath, and be careful about the next step. To get out of the misinformation minefield, you need a good map. In mental health, that map is the DSM-5, the official guide clinicians use to diagnose conditions. And it sets a very high bar for an ADHD diagnosis, much higher than a 30-second TikTok. It's not enough to just feel distracted. A whole set of strict criteria have to be met. Understanding them is how you separate the signal of a real disorder from the noise of everyday life. Let's break down the non-negotiables. Think of them as the 4 big rules for a real diagnosis. Rule number 1, the time machine rule. This is one of the most important and most overlooked rules. Several of your symptoms had to be present before you were 12 years old. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental disorder, meaning it starts in childhood. It doesn't just show up in your 30s when your job gets stressful. A professional will look back at your childhood, using old school reports, talking to your parents, and listening to your own memories. If you were a focused, organized kid who aced your classes without any trouble, it's highly unlikely you have clinical ADHD now, even if you're struggling to focus as an adult. Rule number 2, the everywhere rule. The symptoms can't just pop up in one part of your life. To count, your symptoms have to cause problems in 2 or more settings. For example, they have to show up at work and at home, or in your social life and in your personal responsibilities. If you're only distracted at a soul-crushing job, but you're perfectly focused on your hobbies and your home life is fine, it's probably not ADHD. It might just be a soul-crushing job. ADHD doesn't clock out when you leave the office. Rule number 3, the for real impairment rule. This is all about impact. The symptoms have to be bad enough to cause significant problems in your life, socially, at school, or at work. This isn't just about being a little messy. This is about your symptoms actively sabotaging your success. It's being unable to keep a job even though you're smart and capable. It's relationships failing because you can't manage daily tasks or control your impulses. It's that chronic, deep-down feeling of failure because you just can't get your act together. If your traits are just quirks that don't actually hurt your ability to function, they don't meet the clinical bar for a disorder. Rule number 4, the long-haul rule. The symptoms have to be persistent. For an adult diagnosis, you need to have at least 5 persistent symptoms of inattention or hyperactivity that have been going on for at least the last 6 months. This helps separate a chronic condition from a temporary state. We all go through rough patches, intense stress, grief, burnout that can make us feel like our brains are broken. But if your symptoms seem to come and go with your stress levels, it's more likely a reaction to your environment, not a permanent part of your brain's wiring. When you hold these 4 rules up against your own experience, the picture usually gets a lot clearer. The static of modern life, stress, bad sleep, too much screen time can create a perfect storm of symptoms that look like ADHD, but they don't meet these core requirements. If this is starting to feel a little complicated, that's because it is. Your brain isn't a simple machine, and getting real answers takes more than a checklist from the internet. If this breakdown is helping you make sense of things, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're all about giving you clear, responsible, and empowering info to help you on your journey. Okay, you get the risks and you know the official criteria. So what now? How do you go from, I think I might have this, to actually knowing for sure? It's time to stop guessing and start gathering information. Here's a practical 3-step plan to guide you. Step 1. The responsible self-check. First, let's be clear. Put away the social media quizzes. They are made for clicks, not for clinical accuracy. A much better first step is to look up something called the Adult ADHD Self-Report Scale, or ASRS. It's a screening tool developed by the World Health Organization that clinicians often use as a starting point. You can find it online. The key is to use it as a structured way to reflect on your experiences over the last 6 months, not as a diagnosis machine. Go through it honestly. When it asks about fidgeting, think if it happens at work and when you're trying to watch a movie. When it asks about careless mistakes, think if it happens on big projects and when you're just paying bills. The goal isn't to get a score. It's to organize your thoughts for the next step. Step 2. Become a detective of your own life. Now it's time to do some real investigative work. Grab a notebook and start asking yourself some honest questions, using those 4 big rules as your guide. The when question. When did these struggles really start? Dig for evidence from your childhood. Can you find old report cards? Do they say things like daydreams in class, is disorganized, or talks out of turn? Ask your parents or an older relative what you were like as a kid. Was this pattern there before you were 12? The where question. Where do these symptoms show up? Get specific. List out the different areas of your life. Job, home, relationships, friendships, hobbies. Are the problems showing up across most of these areas? Or are they really just concentrated in one place, like your high-stress job? The how bad question. What is the actual real-world impact? Don't just say, I'm disorganized. What does that cost you? Have you paid hundreds in late fees? Have you gotten warnings at work for missing deadlines? Have your relationships been strained? Put a finger on the real damage. This helps separate a personality quirk from a clinical problem. The what else question. Could something else explain this? This requires being brutally honest with yourself. How is your sleep, really? Are you getting 7 to 9 hours of quality rest, or are you running on fumes? What's your stress level from 1 to 10, and how long has it been that high? Are you doom scrolling for hours, shattering your attention span? Could it be anxiety or depression? Be open to all possibilities. Step 3. Choose your path. After this deep dive, you'll probably find yourself heading in one of 2 directions. Path A, the lifestyle reset. If you realize your symptoms are pretty recent, clearly tied to stress, or just don't seem to have roots in your childhood, the best next step might be a lifestyle experiment. Before you seek a diagnosis, give yourself 30 days. Make getting enough sleep your absolute top priority. Cut back on digital distractions. Get some regular exercise, which is amazing for focus. Tackle your stress head-on. If your symptoms get way better or even disappear, that's a strong sign they were a reaction to your circumstances, not a lifelong disorder. Path B, seeking a professional evaluation. If your symptoms are severe, have been around forever, clearly started in childhood, and are causing major problems across your life, then it is absolutely time to see a professional. This is the most responsible and empowering choice you can make. You can start by talking to your family doctor for a referral, or look for a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist who specializes in adult ADHD. A real evaluation isn't a quick 15-minute chat. It should be thorough, with detailed interviews, standardized rating scales, and a careful screening for other conditions. This is the gold standard for getting answers, and it's what you deserve. Wondering if you have ADHD usually starts from a place of struggle and a deep need for answers. That feeling of being seen in an online video can be a powerful first step, but it should never be the last. The goal isn't just to get a label, especially one that might be wrong. The goal is to find real clarity that leads you to real support. By stepping back, understanding what ADHD is and isn't, and following a responsible path, you're taking back control of your story. An accurate diagnosis, whether it's ADHD or something else, isn't a life sentence. It's an explanation. It's a tool. It's the key that unlocks the right strategies and the right support, allowing you to finally stop fighting your brain and start working with it. And that is a journey worth taking the right way.